Hello, welcome back to Watercolor Cards channel. I'm artist Lisa Christensen and I am here to share with you a really fun couple techniques to add gold to your cards, to your watercolor cards Christmas edition. Our first one will do, it will have a nice, really beautiful red Alizarin Crimson wash. It's just a simple wash on the background of the card. I'm using a flat 1-inch brush and I'm just getting pigment onto the paper. You can literally use red paper or any kind of paper you want. I'm just using watercolor. I love the look of watercolor and I wanted it to be a very pretty watercolor background. So, but it does not matter. I'm just using watercolor because I can. And I'm going to let that dry. Once it's dried, I'm going to use the Scandinavian Christmas Background from Tailored Expressions. Any background stamp will work for this. It really truly doesn't matter, but that's the background that I had. And I'm going to put that in my Misty. I'm making sure that it lines right up just fine. And I'm going to then double tape the paper to the Misty so then it won't move around, just like that. And then I will be inking the stamp with Versamark ink. Versamark ink is a clear watermark ink pad that will, once you stamp it, the ink like kind of sits above the paper, and then you can add your pan pastels to it. And I'm using the gold pan pastels, and you can kind of see that it sometimes with watercolor paper you'll need twice to stamp on it. That's totally normal. And then you get this really pretty background and you can see that the impression was good, so we're going to call it good. And now I'm going to use this really fun foam tool, and I'm going to use light gold with pan pastel, and all I do is take this foam tool and I'm going to hold that. You can also use like tweezers if you don't want to get your hands super dirty, but I'm just going to rub that pan pastel onto the stamped part, and it will hold the pastel wherever their ink was. So it's a really fun, easy technique, and the card just really shines and it's just so pretty. It's a great way to add gold and I just love it. And so I'm being very careful. I'm using a light touch, and you'll see me going back because I didn't get it all. And you just want to use a light touch. You don't want to mess the ink up, and you just want to do a light touch. And sometimes I will then flip that behind, and then I'm just going to clean up the extra gold. I don't want a whole lot of gold on my paper, just where the ink was. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm cleaning up the ink, the pan pastels. So then it gets this really pretty gold shimmery look to it, and it's just perfect for background stamps. Yeah, you see the beautiful gold. So now that it's like ready to go, I'm going to stamp a sentiment with my Misty and make a wonderful little sentiment. This is from Modern Holiday Sentiments from Tailored Expressions, and I'm using Cherry Pop. I did die cut a piece of white cardstock in like a little bracket shape, but you don't have to use a bracket. You could definitely use just a square, just cut out a square. Using a die cut, if you have it, definitely dresses up your card, but it's not needed. And now I can just pop that up right up there, and I think I'll add a little white frame to it, and I got this really beautiful card started. And that's about all there is to it. So to finish it up, I'm going to add some of my foam strips to the frame and call it done. I love these foam strips because they really make life a lot easier, and I use them all the time in my craft room for little things like this. And I love adding this frame because it just adds a little extra touch of elegance to the card. And it's a very simple card to start with, but I love the watercolor background with the gold and then with the little strips. And how cute is that, that it just says love and joy come to you. What a fun card to send to a family and friends. And then it's all done for you. Yeah, looks good. Another technique that I like to use to add gold to my cards is once I already get something painted, I will use a two-way glue by Kuretake. And I'm just adding a little bit of glue, like a line of glue, and I'm just adding it wherever I feel like it needs to be. And then I'm taking some extra, like this is just foil, and I'm making sure that it's still tacky. Sometimes when it dries, I dry it either isn't dry or it's dry, it's too dry to put it on. So you kind of have to know where you want it and then just kind of make it happen. But I'm just, wherever the glue was, I'm pressing the foil down and then adding that glue. It's really an easy, simple way to add beautiful touches of gold in your watercolor cards. And it's just a simple two-way glue. You could probably use any kind of glue, but you just want to make sure that it dries a little bit tacky so you can add the foil. And as you can tell, I'm just using a scrap of foil, but it really adds a lot of gold and it's really fun to do. I use it a lot for my florals whenever I want to add an extra little bit of gold to it. So fun, and I'm so happy to have been able to share some of my easy tips and techniques on adding gold or metallic to watercolor cards that isn't just from watercolor. If you found this video at all useful, please consider subscribing. If you love to paint, check out my other watercolor card tutorials. I make watercolor tutorials weekly, and this is part of the ABCs of Christmas, letter G. Thanks so much for watching. Happy painting. Enjoy this season of creativity and gift giving.